What are the three biggest questions of the week? That's right, folks. We're going to answer them next here on Prepper Nation. Good morning, Nation. John here. Thank you very much for being here this morning. Thank you for supporting the channel if you've done that. If you want to help us out here, Prepper Nation, there are several links down below this video. And plus, you can do the YouTubey stuff, the thumbs up, thumbs down if you don't like the video, hit and subscribe, the bell. I don't know. I probably forgot something there, son. So, yes, I listen to questions here at Prepper Nation. I see the comments. I have to go in and manually approve the comments because a lot of people want to come on there. They're trying to get in touch with people about their extended car warranty and things like that. We just can't have that. So anyway, I do see the comments, and these are the three most popular questions. In fact, we may start doing this every Friday because I just want y'all to know when you're asking questions, it's not going into the black void out here somewhere. We're eventually going to get to them. So yesterday, this question came in from the same lady several times, and it's a great question. She said, and I'm summarizing here, can someone please explain what happens to those of us in debt when it hits the fan? All right, now, are we talking banking collapse? Are we talking the collapse of a civilization here, a society? Are we talking boots on the ground? So it would look wildly different, but for the most part, all right, even if your bank goes under, your credit card, your mortgage, whoever you owe money, your creditor, even if they go out of business, they go bankrupt, you still owe that debt. Unless something's changed and I've missed it, that's how it works. And it's really weird when you start to think about it, because a bank will go out of business, or they'll declare bankruptcy, they'll liquidate everything, meaning your debt and everybody else who has debt with them. And another bank will swoop in and buy it. So, and then you owe them money. So to put it on a micro scale here, let's say you borrow money from your next door neighbor. You borrow $100. You're like, look, son, they're having a good sale on Vienna sausage. I'm going out and getting me $100 worth. So you take a loan out. All right. And something happens to your next door neighbor, and his or her assets are sold off. And then some guy or gal from across town shows up at your door one day and says you used to owe your neighbor $100. Well, now you owe it to me. I bought your debt at auction. It's really weird how it works. But yeah, you're going to owe that debt. The reason that we've been talking about getting out of debt here at Prepper Nation and other prepping channels as well is if you have a lot of debt, it's going to severely limit your options during a shift event. Whatever that shift event may be. Now, again, they're going to be wildly different. If you have boots on the ground and you're downtown, I promise you, you're not going to be worried about your credit card bill then and there. But eventually, it's coming due by somebody. All right, but if we see a financial collapse, if we see a Wall Street crash that leads us, let's say, into a second Great Depression, you're still going to owe that money. You're not getting out of owing that money. But what that's going to do is a lot of people right now are surviving on debt. Like, they literally cannot eat. They can't keep the lights on. They can't do anything without having borrowed money from somewhere else. And if there's a financial collapse, these places, the ones that are left standing, are going to be very, very choosy about who they're lending money to, if anyone at all. So if you cannot survive without that continual debt each and every month, you're in serious trouble. And the further that you can get away from debt, I definitely would not take on any new debt unless you're thinking about buying land and it's just a killer deal and that land is going to help you become a producer instead of consumer. But I digress. The point is, you want as many options as possible during a financial collapse. I mean, a lot of people right now, they don't know what to do. Straight up. They're living off of credit, as I said. They're beating down the doors of food banks, whether it's each week, twice a week, twice a month, whatever. They're hitting churches. They're hitting anywhere that they can where they may be able to get food at either no cost or very low cost, because they're barely surviving as it is. And with a financial collapse, things will just get worse. Like, food banks are running out now. A lot of food bank programs through churches are running out of funds, and they're running out of food to give out. They can't help. They can only help so many people. During a financial collapse specifically, there are going to be a ton of more people to help. And as they're doing that, it's going to spread it thinner and thinner and thinner. And you want to be in control of your own situation, if that makes sense. You don't want to be holding to anyone else. You don't want the government to be there to take care of you. You don't want to have to depend on the government. You don't want to have to depend on banks or food banks or whatever. You want to be able to do it yourself. So by being out of debt, or as clear from debt as humanly possible, you give yourself more options. All right. So that was an excellent question. And plus, let me just add, a bunch of people were doing this during the pandemic. They were using credit just to stay afloat. And as the pandemic kind of leveled off and things, we have a lot more homeless people, sadly, here in the United States than we used to. And it's because people are struggling with that day to day, that month to month, keeping the lights on, keeping the mortgage paid and stuff like this. America, by and large, lives on debt, the federal government and the average citizen. And that's starting to catch up to us. That's literally one of the reasons that I think we're going to see a collapse. Okay. So the second question: do you really think Americans in the southern states will tolerate blue helmets, the UN? The short answer here is yeah, I do. Sadly. All right. I don't think they should, but I think there will be pockets of resistance, and there will be people. I saw the comments yesterday, y'all. There will be people that ain't putting up with it, but will it be enough to matter? I don't know that it will be. I would ask you several questions in response to this. Did Americans in the southern states put up with the election results of 2020? Are Americans currently in the southern states putting up with the invasion at our southern border? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of stuff taking place in the southern states right now that should not be taking place. So I don't know why the UN would be very much different. Even getting back into the pandemic, a lot of southern states, not all of them, but a lot of them were really pushing hard on the mandates, and you can't work unless you have the proper paperwork. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And there wasn't a whole lot of pushback, from lawmakers, but also the average Joes and the average Janes. And so sadly, I do think there will be some pushback, especially having read the comments yesterday, but I don't know that it's going to be enough to keep the blue helmets out of the South. Now, who knows? I may be totally wrong. The South may galvanize at that point and say enough's enough. We're out of here. We're leaving the country together. And it may walk us into another civil war. But as it stands, I do think that most Americans in the South, sadly, will tolerate it. And number 3, the third question of the week here: where can we find food or water during a collapse? And again, it was vague, just a collapse. So let me just say this right out of the gates. And I don't mean to sound like a jerk when I say this, okay? But if you are legitimately worried about finding food and water during a collapse, as a prepper, you have screwed up somewhere. This is not something that you should even have to consider for a very long time, even in a collapse situation. Now, I say over here plenty, don't rush out. Don't buy $1,000 worth of survival food. John got no affiliate links for that, okay? Not here to sell you ReadyWise or anything else for Patriots. I'm not crapping on those companies. I'm just saying there are cheaper ways to do it. Plus, some people kind of have this mindset they're going to buy it all at one time. They wake up, they want to be a prepper, they're going to go out, they're going to crash the bank account, they're going to get everything they need in one day. In my opinion, that does not give you the correct mindset, because the correct mindset as a prepper, as many people in the chat know, lifestyle. And you do not change your lifestyle completely overnight. All right. It's little bitty decisions. It's making good decisions long term. So rather than going out and crashing, your bank account and buying $1,000 or $5,000 worth of survival food, $10,000 worth of silver, do it incrementally. When you go to the grocery store, if you can afford to, because again, food inflation is real, son. But when you go to the grocery store, if you can afford to spend an extra $5 or an extra $10, challenge yourself. How can I spend this $10 and get the most in return? The most shelf stable food possible. You know what I'm saying? And over the course of time, you're going to build it up. But the point is, getting back here to the question for a second, you shouldn't be asking that unless you are brand new to prepping. All right, for a couple of reasons. Number one, again, it's not a situation you should run into if you've done things the right way. If you've been prepping for a couple of years and you've done it incrementally, you should have plenty of food and water. Or you should have plenty of food. You should be producing food. You should have a water source in mind, number one. All right, and just number two, it's dangerous, to find yourself in that situation. I understand anything can happen, but again, if your closest water source 2 or 3 miles away, you're going to have to carry a lot of water. Even if you're by yourself, you're going to be using more water than you think you are. And if you don't have a catchment system or something like this, or a lot of water stored up at home, you're going to be doing a lot of back and forth. That puts you in danger. I mean, it really does. So this is not a situation you should run into again unless you just started prepping. All right. So other than stockpiling and producing and having a catchment, or already identified a place close by that you think you can safely get back and forth to, you should already be networking with other people. You should have a small, not necessarily a community of people. What's up, Beaverines? But just a small friends group where if you run into that situation, okay, we talk about bartering sometimes, but seriously, if you run out of food, sure, you can go fish, and hopefully you catch a fish that as soon as you throw the line in, maybe they're biting. But there are going to be days when nothing's biting, right? So that's not plan A or even plan B where I'm sitting, all right? We have a network. If we start to run short on something, we have friends that we can get in touch with and say, hey, we need some of this. Are you willing to barter it off? It's better to have that network built now rather than trying to throw it together during SHTF. So I like where your head's at. You're thinking about food. You're thinking about water. And you're thinking about long term, but it's something you should be doing now. It's something you should be prepping right now and networking with friends or people in your community, maybe even coworkers now. This is not something you want to try and throw together in the middle of SHTF. Oh, whoops, I ran out of Cocoa Pebbles. You know what I'm saying? Got to have a better plan than that. And you don't need to wait for the collapse to happen before you stand up and do something about it, okay? Start now. Start as cheaply as possible. Again, challenge yourself. Don't bite on all of these. I got an affiliate link down here, son. Click on this. Go. You don't need to do all that. I mean, you can if you're sitting on a pile like Warren Buffett, but you don't need to. You can start at dollar stores and work your way up. Everybody has a different budget. But anyway, those are the 3 most pressing questions of the week here at Prepper Nation. If you have a question, a good question throughout the week, leave it as a comment. Maybe we'll get to it next Friday. Maybe not. Why does he say sun so much? Prepping related stuff. All right, guys. All right. God bless y'all. Have an incredible weekend. John is out.